Today is November 26, 2024, and even though it does not feel good being down 2% today, I'm actually a bit relieved. And some of you that watched my previous video may know why, and it's because lately I've been feeling a bit suspicious about the market, or more specifically my portfolio, because it seems like almost every day I've had a big green day. If you scroll through some of my older video thumbnails, you'll see numbers like up 6%, up 4%, up 3%, and then like some very little red days, like maybe down 0.5 or 0.3, basically break even, just a little cool off before being up like another 8% or something ridiculous. So lately I have been a bit suspicious about the market and just my portfolio in general, because like I said before, it's supposed to be simple, but it's not supposed to be easy. And lately it's been feeling a bit too easy, but today being down 2% on a day where the NASDAQ was up about 0.5% does give me a little bit of relief. Now, today I also opened up a very small position. It's kind of, let me change this. Good grief, I can't operate Robinhood today, but I did open a very small hedge. It's only about $60, and after fees it was probably like $59. So roughly $59 was credited to my account, and my max loss is around 40-ish. So it's a very, very small hedge compared to my $118,000 portfolio, but it just gives me a little bit more comfort to hedge a little bit. And if the market does have another green day tomorrow, perhaps I'll open up a different hedge, or maybe the same one. Who knows? Like, I'll have to decide at that moment. And it's basically just a very small hedge for the remainder of this year. But of course, today, the big loser for me was Robinhood being down 3%, Nike being down 2%. And if you notice, I did buy a bit more Nike. So it is a much bigger position now. And unfortunately, it did go down a bit more today, so I guess I could have bought it for a bit cheaper, but it is what it is. Palantir having an amazing day today. I believe they switched off of NYSE and they switched onto the NASDAQ, so a little bit more buying pressure, which is also why I am avoiding hedging Palantir for now. So I'm kind of leaving that one alone. And of course, Honest is down 1.4%, TLT basically 0.5% down, Tesla flat, PayPal down 0.7, Pepsi down 0.5, SoFi down 1.2, and the rest of my account basically doesn't really matter. But let's see. Burberry up 2%, but it doesn't really matter. Google was actually up. That's interesting. And Nubank, of course, down 2%. And Nubank actually coming back down to the $13 range does catch my attention a bit. I'm already pretty stretched out on margin, but I will be keeping my eye on Nubank. That is kind of interesting. And here are some of the recent transactions I've had in my account. As you can see, a whole bunch of Nike and a very small SPY called Credit Spread Hedge that I opened today. And that $60 is actually not accurate. After fees, I'm roughly pocketing around $59-ish. One thing that I do want Robinhood to change sometime in the future, if anybody from Robinhood is actually watching this, I highly doubt it, but please put the net amount, right? So if I'm being credited, let's just say $59.50, right? So after fees, it was about 50 cents that they took off. Can we just please have the net amount? So whenever I'm looking through my history, it says $59.50 or whatever that amount is. I think most people would agree with me in saying that it really doesn't matter, because we know Robinhood is trying their best to be the cheapest brokerage, right? To be the most retail friendly broker. So whenever we see these very small fees, I don't really think it matters, to be honest, because other brokerages, they charge like $1 or 50 cents per trade or per contract, something like that. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I think being much more transparent will help Robinhood in the long run. But like I said, highly doubt anybody from Robinhood is watching this, but if you are, please. And my mindset, I guess you could say, or my game plan, whatever you want to call it, to finish out the rest of this year is I'm already stretched out on margin. I believe it's like 30K-ish around there that I'm borrowing. But if I do buy any more to close out the rest of this year, most likely I'll be buying Nike and Pepsi. Obviously, the market changes every single day, so new opportunities or new ideas could pop into my mind. But what I foresee myself doing, this is not a recommendation, but what I foresee myself doing is perhaps buying a bit more Nike and a little bit more Pepsi. And if those two stocks do swing back up, I might sell a little bit of covered calls or maybe just sell out of my lots in Nike. But that depends. If Robinhood actually does drop tax loss this year, like Vlad said, most likely I'll just cash out of my higher cost basis lots. But if we still don't have tax loss, and depending on where Nike stock is trading, like I said, I may or may not sell some covered calls on Nike. But obviously, I still want to retain the majority of my position, but I still have to manage my risk and have a little bit of income coming in, because all that margin obviously is going to have some pretty big interest payments every single month. And I can't remember who all asked me this, but there were some people that wanted to know what my cost basis for each stock was. And I can't remember who all were asking me this, but there were some people asking me for my cost basis in each stock. So if anybody is curious, I guess I'll go ahead and show. So my average cost in Robinhood is around $10. But if you want to include like my option profits and whatever, my other profits from trading Robinhood options, it's around like $10 ish. So I did pretty decent with Robinhood. Nike, of course, I don't think I've turned a profit on Nike yet, but my average cost is around $78.90. Palantir is around $17.68. Honest Company is around $3.46. And I also have some more Honest in like other accounts that I have in the background, and I think my average cost in those accounts is around $2.50, $3 ish, so a bit lower than Robinhood, but I still think I got a good price for it. TLT, pretty bad. My average cost is around $90, but I will say this: there was an option trade that did not go in my favor in TLT, so if you want to include that, my average cost, my actual one, is around 95-ish, so I actually am in the red of TLT. Tesla, of course, my average cost is around $223. PayPal, of course, my average cost is around $65.34. Pepsi, my average cost is around $164. SoFi, average cost around $726. American Express, average cost is around $146. Burberry, pretty bad. Average cost at around $15.43. EA, average cost around $139, so basically $140-ish. QQQ around $425, but I also had some like trading profits in this one, and if you want to include that, I think it's around half of the cost, so around $200, I guess. But if you don't want to include that, it's around $425. Nubank, my average cost is around $11. VF Corp, average cost is around $14.64. And of course, Google, average cost is around $166. And at this point, rest of my account doesn't really matter. I just have like $50 in Costco. It doesn't really matter, like I said. But yep, there it is for you guys.